friends have suffered from. Mike Webster, my teammate in my last 2 years, Dwight Clark, the roommate of Steve Fuller, our quarterback, my holder, Junior Seau, they're all gone, and they happen to be some of the best people ever, not just great football players. So I'm really passionate that I'm able to work with a company that's doing literally the cutting edge research proving that CBDs, or CBD synthesized molecules, right now are in the stage of process to become a regular part of people's lives in the next 3 to 4 years. It's very exciting times, and we really need, as Americans, we've always been good at solving important problems. This is important. It's not just important for football players, it's important for all athletes. It's also incredibly important because we have another molecule, CBD, and what's called KLS 13019, which is a molecule we've developed, which is incredibly effective for reducing addiction, pain and addiction, mostly from opiates. Brett Favre was treated in Topeka, Kansas at Menninger's for opiate addiction, Vicodin, oxycodone in 1992. And that leads to all sorts of horrible toxic outcomes and death. 60,000 deaths every single year, more than the entire Vietnam War from opiates. So we're here to help make America healthy again.
Well, I guess like you started off by saying that, you know, these are non-high drugs. What's the point? What's the main point you want to get across to people that view, you know, hemp or like CBD as high products?
Number one is make a huge distinction between marijuana, which has 20 to 30% THC, and what is legal in all the states right now per the 9th Circuit 2004 decision versus the DEA, that if it's produced, the hemp is produced outside the country in less than 0.3% THC, just with stem, stock, and seeds. It's natural. It's available right now, and it's very effective for the regulatory homeostatic qualities and systems of the body. So people can take charge of their health in a way that has not been available to them for 80 years or more.
How would you describe how helpful, I guess, CBD, for example, would be to people who have never heard of the product before?
Well, I'll give you an example. Amy Van Dyken, who I just talked to yesterday, 6-time Olympic champion, the first woman to win 4 gold medals at the Olympics, one of the coolest people I've ever met, paralyzed 4 years ago in a tragic accident. And 2 months ago, she'd been on the Pure CBD product that has no THC, no high, just the Pure. And she texted me, "Holy crap balls," if you can edit that, that's fine. "I can't believe how much better I feel." Here's a woman who had been in pain at an excruciating level for years, and now she has something that's helped dial down her pain and upscale her quality of life. What's that worth to her? And what message is that for all those Olympic athletes and would-bes and people in pain that are training, great athletes that have to push themselves through limits in life? All of us have to, not just athletes. That there are things that are natural to the body, non-toxic, available right now.
Are you somebody who uses this product?
Absolutely. I would never recommend anything that I didn't use myself. In fact, one of the things that we notice with hemp products and with CBD is it seems to calm down the brain. It seems to literally neutralize the addictive gene in the brain that leads people to more impulsive behavior. It seems to quiet the brain. So those of us that are ADD anyway, like me, and had to be a kicker in the NFL, kicking in front of 80,000 people and 30 million on TV on Monday Night Football against the Denver Broncos or the Green Bay Packers, which I did in 1992, 3 field goals, thank you, Brett Favre. When we can quiet ourselves and still be alert, that's when we produce the best. As athletes, as people, we make better decisions. We have a calm appreciation and alertness for life. That's called being alive at its highest level.
When did you start using these products?
About 1.5 years ago.
And what sort of, I guess, changes have you personally seen?
Well, I think, like I said, most importantly, consistency in terms of calming effect, being able to be more dispassionate. Frankly, during an interview where you have to articulate probably has helped as well. But in life, we have so many tasks that come before us in unpredictable, chaotic ways. Being able to manage that today when the advertisements and the stories and the stress we're under is so unpredictable, the brain has to have a little extra edge, and I think CBD's help restore it to its youthful capacity to adapt and recover. Just as when you were in college and you had a couple to drink the night before, Not that I'm advocating drinking, because I really don't drink much, but you know what? We used to come back when we were 19 years of age. Maybe when we're 30 or 40 or 50, we can't. So recovery, regulation, awareness, and most importantly, I think restoring a sense of control and awareness of how to stay healthy. I think CBDs are part of that revolution that frankly I think our medical system has gotten away from. They need to give power back to the patient to be aware of their bodies, and when their bodies are working at their most optimum level, so they can have consistency and they can age gracefully, which we all want to do.
Yeah. Is there any maybe injuries from football or anything like that that this is helping you with?
Injuries?
Yeah.
Okay. See, I'm a kicker. I played 18 years in the NFL.
Right.
I have an artificial left ankle, completely replaced. I had the largest bone spur Dr. Richard Stedman had ever seen. I have an artificial left knee. I had the thickest scar tissue that Dr. Richard Stedman had ever seen. I have an artificial left shoulder, all on my left side, from all the stupid weightlifting we did, the military weightlifting, which Renita would never have done. And so there's pain involved with all of those. I believe that this has really helped me have less pain, focus on what I can do. And when we have, it's sort of like in Star Wars, or let's say Star Trek, when Scotty had to have the dilithium crystals dialed up to have the shields up to protect the Starship Enterprise. When all our energy is going to protecting our body from the pain, we can't relax and enjoy life. And I get emotional thinking about all the people in life, especially those aging, who go through this horrible, torturous, slow deterioration of quality of life. And if we take away their pain and we restore a sense of control, then they are youthful in their mind and their spirit much longer. And isn't that how we all want to age? Because we have all the wisdom, thank God, hopefully. Now to have a resiliency restored in our spirit and in our body, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. What's your take on the way the government or maybe law enforcement perceive CBD? Because a lot of people think CBD and think cannabis straight away.
Well, the DEA just today asked for a quintupling of the research on marijuana itself. So what's happening is the government already, right now, the government has a patent from not a little known doctor, Dr. Julius Axelrod, Nobel Prize winner, called patent number 6630507. Google that. 6630507 is the government's own patent for CBDs as neuroprotectants and antioxidants. So we already have the government with 4,000 different papers on PubMed.gov delineating the effectiveness of CBD. So we're in a slightly insane, controverted state, and law enforcement is beginning simply through education. We don't have to lie, we don't have to exaggerate, no hyperbole is necessary anymore, just educate. The last part is everybody I know that is taking this has a father whose Alzheimer's was improved, has a son who has autism, who's now acting in a calm way and is an agreeable student after acting out and not being easy to work with, has a friend who has diabetes that's been ameliorated, or neuropathy. It goes on and on. We all have personal, deeply emotional references of people whose lives were transformed when traditional medicine said, there's no hope. Now, what do you do with that information when you combine intellectual understanding that's objective with the emotion of seeing somebody restored to health? And that's what's beginning to happen in Congress. It's beginning to happen with law enforcement too.
Do you have any opinions on, I guess, medical marijuana, which does have THC in it? Because medical marijuana was passed in this state about 2 years ago now, and recreational marijuana is now on the ballot in November. Do you have any opinions on stuff like that?
I think that if you research it, if you educate, once again, don't rely on other people, don't rely on doctors, rely on your own education that's out there. You can see medical marijuana is good for chronic pain, but you also can see that there are some potential conflicts in terms of the body's reaction and levels of toxicity as well, memory issues, based on dosage, based on your own situation. With hemp, it's a safer, much more predictable outcome, and always start with that. If you need more, then there's another option. You can go with the medical marijuana route, but there's no reason for probably 80% or more of the population to stick with hemp, to stick with non-hemp. What we're going to have is a cellular inner helmet vitamin to make the neurons in the brain more resilient for football players, for cheerleaders, for people that are dealing with life, which has head injuries as part of life. Almost everyone. Have you had a head injury in your career? As a rugby player?
Not really.
As a soccer player?
I probably have.
Yeah, well, what we're finding is that in addition to concussions, the headers from soccer, which you and I both played, and the small hits against the head, even though they're not concussions, add up cumulatively to actually a more likely impact of CTE. We thought it was concussions. We thought it was the grand slam hits. It's actually the repetitive hits of a wounded brain, a traumatized brain over a long period of time that causes CTE.
Okay. Anything else you'd like to add that I maybe didn't ask?
I'll just say, the most important thing is to be educated, keep an open mind, and listen to your body. I'm motivated by honoring Pam Webster, the ex-wife of Mike Webster, by honoring the family of Junior Seau, by honoring Dwight Clark and his family. These are people that went through hell. And there's no reason with America's greatest game, the best thing that ever happened to me, the National Football League, that we can't stand up to an issue, face it as men and women, responsibly do the right thing, and help get us out of this era of concussions. And CBD is going to be a big part of that.
Do you have, I guess, do you know, have you any CTE type symptoms or any feelings about it?
Well, I think as aging goes, there are times when you leave the room and you go, what was I doing? But luckily, I was not like Mike Webster playing center against 300-pound people, hitting every single time 50 and 60 and 70, 15-mile-an-hour car crashes against my head every single game and even in practice. So luckily, I haven't. But then there's pain, then there's memory, then there's reaction, then there's sleep, then there's anxiety. If you go to echoconnection.org, there's a nice website, or canalife.com, and you can go to PubMed and look up CBD. There are 4,000 papers on it. So it's not about, like I said at the very beginning, it's not about sales, it's not about charm, it's not about exaggeration. It's simply a tidal wave of great science that's increasing, particularly about the neural system, the brain itself, how we can age with grace and with wisdom.
Okay. Anything else?
No, I appreciate it. This is great. And go Bison. Spoke to you guys 10 years ago, and you beat Mississippi Valley State 45-0. Way to go.
That's fantastic. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.